So thank you everyone for being here today. My name is Diana Schulak. I am the program manager at Family Focus Resource Center, and I'd like to welcome you today. Today we're having a wonderful and informative workshop on some very important information about a beginner's guide to special needs planning. And today we have with us the executive director of Serenitas Special Needs Planning, David Terk. David, thank you so much for being here today. We are recording this workshop because it is so useful to have recorded, and it will be on our YouTube channel. And I will be sending everyone the link not only to the YouTube channel where the recording will be, but also David is graciously sharing his presentation slides with everyone. So we will be sending that to you as well as a survey for you to hopefully complete and let us know what you thought of the presentation, as well as suggestions for any upcoming presentations for us. So I'm going to pass it over to David. Thank you for being here today, David.
Thank you for having me. Nice to see you.
Nice to see
Everybody,
you.
welcome. Well, my name's David Terk. I'm the executive director of Serenitas Special Needs Planning. Special needs planning, what we do this as a comprehensive approach to planning. It is not individual things. It's not a la carte. At Serenitas, we have over 40 years experience providing planning services exclusively to the special needs community. So with that, let's move on and talk about our objectives today. Number one is to help you understand the current and future issues that all families must address, to give you the information, resources, and tools to be able to prepare a plan and take action, and to assist you in overcoming any obstacles and make the process simple, affordable, and finished in a short amount of time. Where'd that go? All righty. So first of all, special needs planning is not something that you do today, place on the shelf, then have it gather dust. You will hopefully be pleased to know that what we talk about today is useful for current and future caregivers, today as well as tomorrow. When you leave our workshop today, you will have all the information you need to be able to take action and create a plan. So as you know, this is likely the first generation of kiddos living with special needs who will outlive their parents. In the past, most people living with special needs did not have a full life expectancy, but we know that is certainly not the case now. I'm often asked, when should a family start planning? And not to be self-serving, but the sooner the better. Whether the person is 4 or 40 years old, now is the time to plan. Not only does it help protect everyone for the eventualities of the unknown, but even more important, it helps you today to be able to have peace of mind, and then because you have the knowledge of how to operate within the system. And why do we do special needs planning? There are 4 areas of life that affect anyone living with special needs, and that is legal planning, government benefits, budget and financial needs, and lifestyle planning. So the questions that families need to answer in this process are, who will be the first people contacted when I'm no longer there? Will they know what to do? Do you have a will or special needs trust? And do you know where they're kept? And do they know where they're kept? Have you created a directive letter with all the necessary information for the care of your loved one? Have you shared it with current and future caregivers? Are you aware of which government benefits your child would be eligible for at different milestones in life? Who will provide care when you are no longer there? Families understand this importance, but many have not taken the steps. Well, here we go. Often the process is just too emotional and confusing. They're hoping their loved one may not need any of this planning. They might be too young or concerned about funds in the trust, whether they're needed or not. Some are concerned, do I have an estate that's large enough? What is the cost? I don't have the time to do the research. I can't find anyone that actually knows what they're talking about. All of these things are all of the concerns that families have. I think I've listed most of them, but if there are any more, let me know. So today I hope to demystify this and provide a step-by-step clear way to approach planning that addresses all of the concerns that I've mentioned. Again, there are 4 areas of life that are going to affect anyone living with special needs. The first is legal planning, ensuring that we have a smooth transition, security, and quality of life. When that is properly done, that will allow for us to be able to qualify for, maintain, and maximize government benefits throughout life without interruption. He says with his fingers crossed. That allows us to plan for the future. How much will my child need on a day-to-day basis when we're not there? That accounts for so many of those items, some of which we take for granted. Where will we live? What do we do? Do we have special equipment that we use? What are our health care, et cetera, et cetera? This is where most plans go wrong, is not associating a value with the activities that we want our child to be able to participate in, to give them that quality of life that they maintain now. And finally, lifestyle planning is as or more important than the other 3 things put together. Lifestyle planning is everything about who your child is and what makes a good day versus a bad day. Is it buttons or zippers? Is it scrambled or fried eggs? What can we do for ourselves and what do we need assistance with? All of these things, how do we communicate? Who are our doctors? How do we operate our activities of daily life? All of these things, most parents take for granted because we're just trying to live our day-to-day life and get through. But if we are not there, all of this needs to be communicated to the person coming after us, the person providing care to our children. All righty. So a special needs trust. You may have heard of these. There are actually many different types of special needs trusts for different purposes. So these are simply tools that are used under the umbrella of special needs planning. The gold standard for when one is being proactive in planning, meaning our child doesn't have any assets in their name, they're under 18, we're getting everything set up to be able to apply for Social Security, making sure everything is in the right place so that our children will be able to qualify and maximize those benefits, as well as making sure that there is a plan after us. This is one of the number 1 places that that plans go wrong, is that the wrong type of special needs trust is used. So the gold standard for being proactive is what's called a third-party, irrevocable, living special needs trust. It is a standalone trust. Now I'm going to talk about these different ones. Irrevocable, meaning it can't be changed at any time for any reason. I know that sounds scary. In our documents, there are actually 2 elements that can be adjusted. One are the successor trustees, and one are the remaindermen or the beneficiaries of anything left in that trust. Everything else is locked in place because that is what Social Security requires. It is irrevocable. It is a standalone. It is a third-party trust, meaning that it is funded from anyone in the world except your child, the beneficiary of that trust. A first-party trust is just that. If our child receives money directly, then money goes in there. Why is that suboptimal? Well, if we can avoid it, we would like to make sure that we preserve funds for everyone in the family. In a first party trust, it's what's known as, you'll see on the bottom line, an OBRA 93 special needs trust or a disability trust in California. And this is used when it's properly used. It's used when our child receives money over $2,000, which will make them ineligible for benefits. This type of trust will allow you to put funds in there where it will not be considered accountable resource by Social Security. However, when your child does ultimately pass away, anything left in that trust goes back to Medi-Cal for any past services rendered before it goes to any other family members. When we're doing planning, my goal is to preserve the resources for the family. And if you want to pay them back to Medi-Cal, give you the option rather than the obligation to do so. So hopefully that makes sense. By the way, just to be super clear about what a special needs trust does, it allows one to put funds in, whether it's first party or third party, where those funds or any of the assets are considered a non-countable resource by Social Security, which means that your children can maintain eligibility for benefits and have supplemental assets, supplemental being the key word, supplemental to the government benefits, to provide what government benefits do not. This is the crucial. This is what a special needs trust does. If it doesn't do that, then it's not worth doing if you don't have that need. One other thing a special needs trust does, it protects those assets from any lawsuits and creditors. So it's a non-countable resource to Social Security, and it is protected from any lawsuits and creditors. All right. Key points to know about how a special needs trust needs to be put together. The assets cannot be in your child's name. It needs to be in the name of the special needs trust. If it's in their name, it's considered their asset and Social Security will count it. And if it is over $2,000, it will again make them ineligible for benefits. This is the key problem that we solve. The funds, again, I mentioned, supplemental needs only. Highlight, underline, italicize, bold, supplemental needs. I should have done that on here. Okay, the assets cannot belong to the person with special needs. So they cannot put the funds in themselves in the third party trust. And the trustee of the trust has sole discretion in distributing those assets. These are the key elements that Social Security must see in order to approve the special needs trust. So let me get to that point. Did you know, if you have a special needs trust already, have done planning, have a will and a family trust, whatever the case may be, if you have a properly drafted plan, you can actually bring it to Social Security now while you're alive. And they will review it and give you their feedback, either their seal of approval or their notes for why it is not eligible. I've never met anyone that has been told this before, but it is called the Trust Review Department. Oftentimes I've had families call and the first person they get doesn't even know that that exists, but it does. It will take 6 to 9 months for them to review the trust, but ultimately Social Security reviews it anyway. They are the only ones who matter. I would much rather we do it now so that we know that we have a plan that works rather than hoping, and that is all within our ability. How do we fund the trust? Where does that come from? Well, really, it comes from any of your personal assets or anyone in the family. Inheritance comes from savings, life insurance, investments, tangible assets, pensions, real estate, art, annuities, personal property. All right. So, oh, I can't see my screen. Okay, comprehensive life planning. So I know this is a lot. I know that write down your questions. We are going to go over it, I promise. And even if we don't have time to hit everything, I am available to everyone. There is no fee to have a consultation about your family. So let me just preface that right there. Please use me as a resource for you. Okay, comprehensive life planning, the letter of intent. This falls under lifestyle planning. Again, this is not a legal document, but it is your letter of intent for your wishes for your child, children, etc. It captures everything about their life. Again, what makes a good day versus a bad day? What are our preferences? What are our likes and dislikes? What can we do? What do we need assistance with? Where will we live? How do you envision the daily activity schedule? How do we make sure that we share this with current and future caregivers? So all of this is encompassed in the letter of intent and so much more. There we go. A comprehensive plan has the letter of intent. There are 3 primary documents that all work together. These are the legal documents. You have a will, which is a public document, which states where your assets go and who your guardians or conservators, who you nominate as guardians or conservators for your children. Those are the elements that you want to remain public. We do not want our nominations to remain private and then pass away and have the state of California come up with a plan for you. So a will is essential. And when properly drafted, the will say, it will identify your child as a person living with special needs. So it's very clear to anyone that you are clearly identifying this. That any distribution meant for them is actually intended to go to the special needs trust, which will be set up. The will also say that all your assets that can be owned by the family trust should be owned by the family trust. And this allows anything in the family trust is private. You want your assets to avoid probate, which can take anywhere from 1 to 3 years in California or in Los Angeles, and cost anywhere from 10 to 20% of the estate. None of that is necessary if we take the proper steps to avoid it. So that is what's called a pour over will. And that is going to then go to your revocable living family trust, which is a private document where you lay out all the details of who you want to get what, when, and under what circumstances. All of it comports with the laws of the state of California, as well as the federal laws regarding government benefits. Then a will and a living trust is perfectly sufficient for a typical family, but of course, everything we do needs a little extra. And so we need to have, again, use the proper special needs trust. And again, when we're being proactive, it's a third-party, irrevocable living special needs trust. If we run into the situation where our child has money, we call this a good problem, but we do need to make sure that we take care of it so that we can still maintain eligibility for benefits and protect those assets. And that is where that first party trust, also known as a disability trust in California, also known as an OBRA 93 Medicaid payback trust federally. I know you didn't ask, but I came to give you info. Those are all synonymous, and that allows your child, if they receive money, whether it's a legal settlement, overpayment from Social Security, an inheritance that went to them directly instead of their other special needs trust, all of that is possible to protect. And it is possible, oftentimes happens, where a person will have multiple special needs trusts. There's no limit on what they are on how many can be set up. Sometimes one is set up by a grandparent and then a parent, and then a first party trust is set up because the child receives money directly. All right, I know that's a lot. Write down your questions. We want to make sure that we identify also guardians and conservators in the will. Trustees. This is a key area, and these are the people who are going to succeed you in taking care of your estate and how it is going to be managed. So if you notice, the first 5 letters of trustees is trust. That is the root of the word, and that we have to make sure that the people that we identify are people that we trust. They do not have to be family members. Some of us are lucky enough to have good family. Some of us have family that are not trustworthy, and a mix in between. But the key word is trust, and we want to name those people whom we trust to succeed us in taking care of our plans. A proper plan is going to address all the government agencies. How do we deal with Social Security? What benefits will be available at different milestones in life? When we're under 18, there's some benefits available. When we turn 18, we become eligible for benefits as an individual, not necessarily as part of the family unit. And that can really expand things. When one turns 18, whether they have a disability or not, they are considered an adult unless they are conserved in California. So understanding what government benefits are available at different milestones. I will touch on those in an upcoming slide. Okay, so these are all of the different elements that need to be touched on to ensure that you have a plan that's going to work, and not hitting one of these will leave a plan that's unstable. There we go, forward. Okay. So typical families plan for their retirement. Our families have dual goals. We have to plan for what is our hopeful retirement, whether we want it or not. And we have to make sure that we have lifetime supervision and care handled for our children beyond us. And that is a key element in making sure that our children have the lifestyle we want them to have. Planning will ensure lifetime supervision and care, be able to maintain government benefit eligibility, and provide for the person's supplemental, highlight, underline, italicize, supplemental needs. Will allow for arranging management of assets, dignified final arrangements, and avoids family conflict. So let's talk about benefits, because this is typically the first obstacle that we will find. When our children turn 18, they will become eligible for SSI benefits as an individual, not necessarily as part of the family. Needs to be indicated that way. Now, currently, California's maximum is $1,311.82, not to put too fine a point on it. California supplements what the federal government provides. This is the 2024 California maximum. Anyone receiving $1 of SSI will automatically receive Medi-Cal. So for those of you who have children under 18, they likely currently have a Medi-Cal waiver through the regional center. When your child turns 18, that waiver will go back to the regional center to be used for another person under 18, and your child will receive SSI straight. They will qualify for it directly. All right. So SSI is a temporary benefit. When one of three things happens to a parent, that benefit will change to SSA, which actually stands for nothing, but it's your survivor retirement benefit. Okay, that's your withholdings that you would do through your paycheck and is your Social Security benefit, which is different than SSI, which is the social safety net. And there are very different rules. So with SSI, you are not able to have assets in excess of $2,000 without it making you ineligible for benefits. When you migrate to the survivor retirement program, that requirement is no longer there. There are different rules. However, if we have used Medi-Cal, we always need to be cognizant and aware of making sure that our assets are still under $2,000. Because if we have used Medi-Cal in the past, there is a kind of a running tab of what has been utilized. And there is what's called a state recovery, which can kick in at different points. Those details are for another day. Anyhow, so for survivor retirement benefits, when a parent retires or becomes disabled, your child becomes eligible for 50% of your full retirement age benefit. That is in addition to, not taken away from your benefit. So in this example, let's say there's a $3,000 a month benefit, and you can find this on ssa.gov. You can download your Social Security statement from there. In the past, the government used to send us these, like the one useful thing they used to send us, they make you search out now, but it is really important information. So you can download your benefit at ssa.gov, and you'll see on it, there's a bar graph, a horizontal bar graph of different amounts at different ages. And the amount that your child's benefit is based on, again, is your full retirement age. It's not it's not taking it early,
Because it might be
and
SSA,
it's not waiting.
it's gonna,
It's that FRA, full retirement age benefit. So while you are retired, your child will receive 50% of that. Also, after being on that benefit for 25 months, 25, your child will also be eligible for Medicare benefits, okay? Which is much more comprehensive healthcare benefits through the government. Excuse me, let me go back one. When a parent ultimately passes away, that Social Security benefit goes up to 75% for life. So in this example where, let's say a parent has a $3,000 benefit, while they're retired, your child will receive $1,500 a month. And then when you do pass away, that'll go up to $2,250 a month. Okay, that's quite a bit, and is an awful good start to get us on the road to planning and supporting our children after we're gone. Now, knowing that and making sure that that is in place is absolutely essential. There is a benefit called SSDI available for anyone who has worked, disabled or not, has worked 5 of 10 years and has paid, has worked for 10 years, paid 40 quarters of taxes, and has worked for the last 5 of 10 years. Again, this is eligible for anyone. And then we have 2 lifetime healthcare benefits of Medicare and Medicaid. Medicaid, we are currently eligible for and become so at 18 under SSI. And then 25 months after being on the SSA benefit, your child can also be on Medicare. So as I'm touching on healthcare, let me touch on a couple other things. One, very important to know that your child living with a disability is not kicked off of your private insurance at age 26. Living with a disability has been part of this has been part of law for many, many decades, long before the Affordable Care Act. A person living with a disability is able to stay on their parent's insurance as long as that parent has insurance. This comes in particular benefit if you happen to have a pension where benefits can be passed on to successors, spouse, and or children. And in this case, it is possible for a child to have 3 levels of insurance throughout their life. They have private insurance as the primary payer. They have Medicare as the secondary payer, and Medi-Cal as the payer of last resort. That's pretty awesome. There is no value that you can put on the value of that healthcare. I also want to mention, as we wanted to go back to SSA just for a moment. When your child is over 18, they will receive this benefit, and it's under what's called the Disabled Adult Child Benefit. That is how they qualify. So let me just give a brief example. If a parent passes away and they have 2 kids, one living with special needs and one not, and they're both 16 years old, the typical 16-year-old will receive a benefit until age 18, at which point it will cease. However, the sibling living with special needs will be able to continue to receive that parent's benefit throughout life because they do live with that disability. And when they turn 18, it would be labeled under the Disabled Adult Child Program. And I believe it comes to you on the check under an SSDI heading, but it's not because they were working. So just to make sure things are perfectly confusing. All right, moving on. I know there's a lot there. Benefits are always a great conversation. All right, I didn't need to say much there. This is what the financial component is. Determine the realistic cost of your plan. That means what does my loved one need on a monthly basis? How far in the future are we talking, and how much inflation can we anticipate? How would assets be invested to provide a rate of return that ensured that we had enough money to be there throughout life? That is easy to talk about, a little harder to get to, but over many, many years, we've developed a easy framework for being able to get this information and identify how much our children will need. And it's the equation is simple. It's how much does my kid need? And we have a like a budget template that we utilize that's geared towards all the unique aspects of living with special needs. And of course, everyone is different. Not everyone uses a wheelchair or has oh my God, an assistant animal. But it all of this is accommodated in that and really very important. So you have a total cost. That cost is reduced by the amount of government benefits that we're able to receive. And the difference is what we need to fund through personal resources. Okay. Now, the letter of intent. This is, as I mentioned before, where we get to put down everything about who our kiddos are. What makes a good day versus a bad day? When I walk in, what do I need? This is where you get to put down your wishes, goals, and instructions and care information in writing, in pictures, and on video. So let me share with you a quick story about the importance and the power of the lifestyle planning. Um, it's been many years now. It's been probably about 10 years ago. We had a gentleman named John come to our office. John was 42 years old. He came with his sister and brother-in-law. John uses a wheelchair. He was oxygen deprived at birth and has the mental capacity of a 3-year-old. John's parents had passed away, and he was lucky enough to have a sister that cared. His family did not have a special needs trust or any plans in place, but he did have a sister that was responsible and took care of this. And so we met. And during this meeting, John starts having this huge smile on his face and starts rolling his head from side to side saying, "Bubba, Bubba." And you could see he's asking for something. And I didn't want to presume. She says, "What do you think?" I don't know. I didn't want to embarrass myself. She says, "He's saying bubbles." Okay, Bubbles. I can totally see how we could get there. So do you have, you blow bubbles? You have bubbles in your purse? Who doesn't love bubbles? She says, "No. John loves the feeling of soda bubbles going down his throat. Not just any soda bubbles, Pepsi." So I know that's a cute story, but it makes you think. If John had come to my house, come to live with Uncle Dave, I'm excited. I want to care. This is what we do. But I don't know what he's saying. And Bubba, let's say I get to bubbles. How am I ever going to know that it's soda bubbles he's talking about? I might run a bubble bath and get some bubble gum and blow some bubbles and blow some balloons. And pretty soon, John's getting frustrated because he's not getting what he wants. And I'm probably getting frustrated because I'm not able to give him what he's asking for. And the idea of John giving up on asking for that one piece of joy, the Pepsi bubbles going down his throat, that would be really useful information because I only drink Coke in the house. It would be great to know that he likes Pepsi. This is why lifestyle planning is so important. So what are our next steps? We want to identify our personal issues and concerns, identify what the obstacles to planning are, and get around them. Understanding the consequences of not planning. I did not belabor that issue, but the consequences of not planning will be that no one knows what to do for your child or who they are, and they may lose benefits. And all of those issues will fall on your successors who are going to care for your loved one. It is imperative to take control of that now so that you are the ones making decisions and not leaving it up to the state of California to make a plan for you. You now have the knowledge and ability to address all of these issues and take action and make a plan. There are no more excuses. I think with that, you now have the tools to fix the problems. I am happy to help, and I think we can start and answer some questions.
Okay, give me one moment and I will stop the recording. And we're going to pause here. Thank you so much.